Welcome to Pioneer TV Pregame.
Tonight, the Mooresville Pioneers face off against the Plainfield Quakers. Thank you for joining us on Pioneer TV Pregame Show. My name is Ethan Moore, and joining me is Jared Kemp.
With the Pioneers' win against Danville last week, their current record is 1-1.
In that game, Hogan Denny threw 5 complete passes of 13 attempts for 102 yards and 14 carries for 222 yards. Levi Dorn caught 2 passes for 57 yards. Landon Clements had 14 carries for 53 yards, and Caden Bruin and Landon Clements caught interceptions. Braylon Krager collected a quarterback sack as well.
Next week, the Pioneers face off against the Woodmen at Greenwood.
Tonight is the Pioneers' first home game of the season. Let's look at the Pioneer season schedule. In Week 1, they lost 29-34 against Bloomington North. In Week 2, they won 28-12 against Danville. Week 3 is tonight's game against Plainfield. Week 4, Greenwood. Week 5, Decatur Central. Week 6, Franklin Community. Week 7, Whiteland. Week 8, Martinsville. And Week 9, Perry Meridian.
Let's look at some of Mooresville's key players.
Mooresville quarterback Hoagie Denny has a 42.5 pass completion percentage, 141.5 yards a game, 2 passing touchdowns, 3 pass interceptions, 402 yards, rushing yards, 201 rushing yards a game, and 4 rushing touchdowns.
Next, there are senior Levi Dorn and junior Caden Bruin. Caden Bruin has 40 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. Levi Dorn leads the Pioneers with 152 receiving yards. He has 1 receiving touchdown.
Senior Landon Clements leads the Pioneers with 14 tackles and 1 sack. He also has 402 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns.
Senior Tyler Church for the Pioneers has 219 kickoff yards and 88 punt yards. He has made 7 out of 7 PAT kick attempts, and he missed a field goal attempt.
Here is Connor Cullen and Dylan Chestnut with the story on Hogan Denny.
Hogan Denny is the starting quarterback for the Mooresville Pioneers this season. Denny has been a member of the Pioneers varsity football, basketball, and baseball teams. Last year, Denny was one of the Pioneers' star receivers with 404 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns, which is still surprisingly good considering the fact he was out for nearly half the season due to injury. He was also a backup QB to Nick Patterson. He went 3 for 4 on passing attempts, throwing a total of 59 yards, getting a touchdown for the Pioneers, and having a QB rating of 156.3. We wanted to know which game Hogan was most excited for. Here's what he had to say.
Probably just the homecoming game when we played Decatur. Just having the chance to play a rival on such a big game and a fun night at homecoming and just get a chance to beat them again.
We also asked about the elephant in the room, being Nick Patterson graduating, and how Hogan feels to be filling his shoes.
I'm just excited to go out there and prove to myself that I belong in that position and that I can be reliable and just lead the team. So just definitely excited to go out there and prove what I can do.
Lastly, we asked how Hogan thinks he will do as a starting quarterback, while last year mainly being a receiver.
I'm very confident in myself. I'm confident in what our team's been working on. I'm excited to go out there and just put all the things we practice into play. So I'm excited. I'm confident in my ability and our team's ability.
We're excited to see how Hogan does at our first home game on September 1st against Plainfield. Kickoff time will be 7 p.m., so come on out and support your Pioneers. And if you can't, watch it virtually at mooresvilleschools.org/PioneerTV.
If you haven't seen it yet, watch the Hogan Denny football hype video on our YouTube channel before tonight's game.
Yeah, Mooresville's team this year, looking a little bit not as good as last year, but, it happens every year, lose a couple seniors. But sometimes you can improve with a little bit of the younger guys and work with them.
Yeah, definitely Hogan Denny switching to quarterback from wide receiver after losing Nick Patterson. It's definitely been a change. He's definitely struggled passing-wise so far, but he's top 5 in the state in rushing yards as a quarterback, which is really impressive. But throwing only 2 touchdowns and having 3 picks has definitely been a struggle. He has the arm strength, but when it comes to accuracy, he's definitely been struggling so far. But if the Pioneers want to make a deep run going into the season and just improve, Hogan Denny's definitely going to need to improve on his accuracy. And Levi Dorn's been really impressive so far, but other wide receivers definitely need to step up and help out Denny.
Well, some of the things with the QB and the wide receiver that kind of just takes time and experience for them to, get the plays down and understand what they're doing to really bring out their full potential.
Yeah, Hogan Denny, knowing this playbook really well at the wide receiver position, he should be able to throw some passes anticipation-wise, knowing when the wide receivers will break, just being a quarterback and being a wide receiver last year. So he should have chemistry in that department. But Levi Dorn's definitely been his top target so far. But going from offense to defense, that defensive line for Mooresville is definitely one of the more prominent position groups. Guys like Hunter Bennett have been really good on the edge, creating a lot of pressure and allowing the cornerbacks kind of to play deeper, not allowing them too much up deep. In the Bloomington North game, the secondary definitely struggled, but last game against Danville, the pass rush was very good, allowing the Mooresville secondary to not worry too much.
Yeah, bringing up with Hogan and Levi, you can really see the chemistry with them. It really seems to help both of their stats as Levi, averaging about 75 yards a game on the receiving end, which is pretty good.
Yeah, Levi Dorn, he's definitely the biggest target. In that Bloomington North game, he got targeted a lot. Same in the Danville game. But it feels like a common issue between these couple of games where Hogan Denny has definitely struggled passing-wise, 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, while the rushing game has been really strong. Him and Clements provide a 1-2 combo. Landon Clements being a really good power rusher, able to punch it in from a couple yards out, and has a lot of good screen opportunities in the passing game as well.
Yeah, kind of having that opportunity of a running QB where you don't know if, hey, they're going to hand off to the running back or if he's just going to keep it himself. Also bringing it up. They were down 34-12 against Bloomington North. Hogan Denny kind of led the comeback, but they came up just short in the final minutes.
Yeah, that defense kind of ruined that opportunity for the Mooresville Pioneers at the end. The defense did get a safety, allowing the team to come back slowly, but at the end, miscommunication from the DBs and linebackers allowed Bloomington North to capture that game. But it definitely showed a lot of promise going into this game and last game against Danville, because Hogan Denny showed a lot of improvement. He struggled early on in that in that Bloomington North game. But in the Danville game last week, he was better, but he still isn't what Nick Patterson was, and that's definitely been an issue so far. Nick Patterson had the running capability as Hogan Denny but Hogan Denny has not had the passing upside so far that Nick Patterson had.
Yeah, maybe it's just some pregame jitters trying to ease into it, but hopefully to prove every game and get up to the full potential of the Pioneers roster.
The game is only about 15 minutes away. Stay tuned for more Pioneer TV pregame. We'll be right back after this break.
When I'm not racing at the track, I do like to take things a little bit slower. But even with my foot off the gas, I'm still driven to save lives. So if you're like me and you like hunting and fishing, you could do something to save lives too. Just say yes to being an organ donor when you get your hunting or fishing license online, or when you renew your Indiana driver's license. Join the 4 million Hoosiers who have signed up to save lives. Here, fishy, fishy, fishy.
Welcome back to Pioneer Pregame.
The Pioneers played against Plainfield last season. Mooresville won the game 38-7. During that game, the Pioneers had a 69.2 pass completion percentage, 297 passing yards, 40 rushing carries, 165 rushing yards, and 297 receiving yards, 3.5 sacks, and 55 tackles.
Yeah, Plainfield had a 61.9 pass completion percentage, 112 passing yards, 27 carries for 178 yards, 112 receiving yards, and 78 tackles.
Plainfield won against Harrison last week 15-14, making the current record 2-0. Now let's look at the Quaker season schedule. In Week 1, they won 32-13 against Terre Haute South Vigo. In Week 2, they won 15-14 against Harrison. Week 3 is tonight's game against Mooresville. Week 4, Pear Meridian. Week 5, Greenwood. Week 6, Decatur Central. Week 7, Franklin Community. Week 8, Whiteland. And Week 9, Martinsville.
Now let's look at some of Plainfield's key players.
Plainfield's quarterback is Hunter Newell and has a 42.5 pass completion percentage, 141.5 yards a game, 2 passing touchdowns, and 3 pass interceptions.
Next, there's Jamar Bowie and Luke Starnes. Jamar Bowie leads the Quakers with 103 receiving yards. He has 2 receiving touchdowns. Luke Starnes leads the Quakers with 261 rushing yards and 64.5 rush yards a game. He has 2 rushing touchdowns.
On defense, Landon Drennan leads the Quakers with 21 tackles and 10.5 tackles per game. He has 2 sacks on the season.
Cameron Grimes has 215 punt yards. He has made 19 out of 19 PAT kick attempts and 6 out of 6 field goals.
We kind of can see something similar between the two quarterbacks. Both have 2 touchdowns passing-wise, but 3 interceptions on the season. Last week against Harrison, Plainfield definitely struggled offensively, only scoring 15 points, but their defense was really prominent, holding Harrison to 14, allowing them to get the victory. But for them to beat the Pioneers today, that defense is going to have to do exactly what they did against Harrison last week, but their offense is definitely going to have to be a lot stronger because this Pioneer front seven is definitely strong, but they can definitely look to attack the secondary.
Yeah, sometimes if your offense is struggling, you got to hang in there, and defense keep getting stops, and eventually the offense will jumpstart and get you out some points.
Yeah, that defense for Plainfield, definitely some of the strongest in this conference. In the past 2 games, they have not allowed too many points so far. But Jared, what do you think Plainfield, specifically offensively, will need to change going into this game?
Most definitely going to have to get their QB. He's going to have to start getting the plays down, start hitting the routes, and get some more touchdowns. Also, working on, everybody, make sure they know the plays and get some of the underclassmen some more experience if they get up big.
Yeah, Plainfield's quarterback doesn't have the rushing upside that Hogan Denny does, but his passing game definitely will need to improve, just like Hogan Denny's needs to. But definitely a lot of promise, trying to get some revenge going into this game tonight because they lost 38-7 last year at Plainfield, where Mooresville controlled the game through and through. But the Pioneers definitely looking to repeat what they did last year. Defense trying to be just as strong, but it's going to be a whole different look offensively going to this game because they're switching quarterbacks. Maybe could play well into the Quakers' pedigree, but we'll see what they do tonight.
Yeah, how do you really game plan against 2 quarterbacks that you haven't really seen their full potential, don't really know what they can do? I feel like at that point it's going to be a little bit difficult to figure out, hey, what do we have to stop? What do we have to do better?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of rushing attack offensively from the Quakers just because of the Mooresville defense. Their front seven's strong in the passing game and getting to the rusher, but they kind of struggled when it comes to stopping the run, especially in that Bloomington North game. Bloomington North ran the 2 running back punch, running back by committee, kept switching the running backs in, and it really attacked the Mooresville defense, which is exactly what I expect the Quakers to do tonight.
Yeah, have to work on that. You can't really have a whole lot of weaknesses. You can have a couple weaknesses, but if you can figure out how to patch them, really what makes you a strong team to go on in the playoffs.
The game is 10 minutes away. Stay tuned for more Pioneer TV pregame. We'll be right back after this break.
The benefits of choosing a career in the union construction industry are truly limitless.
Some of the things that I've worked on that I'm extremely proud of are some of the pipe racks that we just built for Eli Lilly.
Yeah, there's a lot of different avenues to grow and to advance in your career.
If you're a senior and college isn't for you, in the trades there's so many opportunities. You get to work with your hands, you get trained for free, and the options are unlimited. You can do so many different things with this career.
Welcome back to Pioneer Pregame.
Now let's look at both teams' current season comparison. Mooresville offense has
18 passing completions, 2 passing touchdowns, 6 rushing touchdowns, 531 total rushing yards, and 305 total passing yards. On defense, with 3 interceptions, 3 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and 46 total tackles. Plainfield's offense has
21 passing completions, 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 452 total rushing yards, and 200 total passing yards. Mooresville's defense with 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, and 2 fumble recoveries, and 114 total tackles. Something I expect in tonight's game is definitely a lot of running from both teams. Hogan Denny's rushing attack's really strong, same with Landon Clements, but Plainfield, they definitely have passed a lot so far this season, but I think they could switch it up, especially because their offense did struggle last week against Harrison, and maybe the Pioneers watching film expect that, and they have faith in their secondary, but I definitely think it's going to be a run-heavy game tonight. What do you think, Jared?
I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to come down to one of the QBs is going to have to step up and not just let the running backs do all the work and going to have to drive his way down the field.
I think whoever has the better QB in this game tonight will win. Mooresville, like I said earlier, won 38-7 last year, but completely different roster here, completely different quarterback, new running back, and Landon Clements did come in after injuries sustained from the running back core last year for Mooresville. He's definitely been very strong so far, but the Mooresville defense has been really strong so far in the pass rush department, but when it comes to stopping the run, they've really struggled. So Plainfield knows that, but also Mooresville knows that.
Yeah, with the defenses, really last year after Brendan Wilson got hurt, Landon Clemens was kind of a surprise to come in at running back and was pretty good at it.
Yeah, Landon Clements plays running back, but he also plays linebacker, so he's good at both ends of the field. At linebacker, he's been really strong so far, coming in on blitzes, getting a sack or two, leads the league and leads the team in tackles. So definitely one of the best players on the team so far.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a good game tonight.
Here's Joe Hasty and Austin Marine with a story on this year's Pioneer football team.
Mooresville's first home game is tonight against the Plainfield Quakers.
We're in one of the toughest conferences in the state of Indiana, no question about it, the Mid-State Conference. And so, if you're at the top of that, you really got a good opportunity to do well.
With Nick Patterson graduating, the team needed a new star quarterback, and they settled on our previous wide receiver, Hogan Denny.
Some goals are I want to throw for 3,000, rush for 1,000, win our conference, and then hopefully just go as far as we can in the postseason.
We relied on Nick for 3 years, and he was an outstanding quarterback. Hogan was in the mix to start when he was a freshman. He and Nick battled it out, and of course everybody knows what happened. That was a good decision for us. Nick's on at Saginaw Valley now playing college football. But Hogan's got the opportunity now to do what he's always wanted to do, to play quarterback at the high school level. And he's looking pretty good so far in the preseason. We expect him to do really well for us. We're not going to lose a whole lot at that position.
I'm just excited to be involved every play and hopefully just be a key leader to our offense and score as many points as we can.
Replacing Hogan at the wide receiver spot is Caden Bruns, his very first varsity gig.
Caden's got great hands. He runs good routes. He's got good speed.
Levi Dorn is a returning wide receiver from last year who was even considered for the All-State Indiana team.
Levi Dorn back at the wide receiver spot, and he caught 58 passes last year. So he was an all-state candidate.
We have weapons this year. I feel like I'm coming off a great junior year, and then we also have a kid coming in for his breakout junior year, so I feel like we'll be really good.
Landon Clements is returning from last year as the running back for Mooresville.
And our running back is back with Landon Clements.
Best of luck to the Pioneers tonight against the Quakers.
The team is not the only thing new this year. The Pioneers football stadium has a new press box and stands. Here's Joe Hasty and Austin Marine with the story.
Mooresville High School recently constructed a new press box for usage of media and coaches.
The press box was entirely too small. With today's day and age, with increase in media, we have more coaches because we like to keep a closer eye on things, officials in the box. Our success has brought us a lot of reporters. We didn't have the space. It was a poorly designed, but it worked for the time that we had it. But it was desperately needed. For the press box itself, I think we're able to have more coaches up there, more press up there. There's going to be a spot on the roof now where we can have cameras. I mean, we've got a fantastic broadcast group here. And now we've got spaces where we can actually put those cameras without interference from fan views, people in the stands. There's going to be a walkway on the top of the stands as well so that we can get better angles for people at home because not everybody can be here.
They also replaced the stands, which had been around for almost 50 years.
Our old ones were not safe. They were starting to fall apart. We had repaired multiple spots, especially in the student section, on numerous occasions.
And just generally, it's a much better look, a much better looking bleacher than what we had before.
But one of the things I actually probably most like about the fact that we got new ones, when they were first designed and installed, I don't even know the year, it was clearly before a lot of requirements for the ADA. There was one really small ramp on the side for wheelchair access. And if you knew that the old stands, only about a third of it actually had handicap seating in the front. These new stands actually have it across the entire span, and there's multiple entrances into the bleachers. Also on a safety, should you have to evacuate the stands for anything, whether weather or anything else, with the multiple entrances and exits in the middle and the ends, and the larger walkway in the space, you can do that in a more efficient and timely manner.
The visitors' side of the stands have also been replaced to better accommodate our visiting teams.
On the visitor side, we've got a little more seating, better access, again, a ramp all the way across, a little more handicap seating as well, which we think will be a much better option for our visiting fans.
They even went as far as to install an elevator to the new press box.
There are requirements by the ADA, Americans with Disability Act, and also fire codes. If you have a certain enough size of an area in a building that's not on the ground floor, you have to have an elevator.
The press box will be a great help to all broadcasters and coaching staff, and we would like to thank Mooresville Schools for funding the project.
Thank you for watching Pioneer TV pregame. Now it's time for tonight's game.